King of the Hammers, the hardest one-day off-road race in the world. 200 miles of relentless desert at full throttle, giving way to brutal rock canyons that rip apart machines and break the best drivers that try. With little to no UTV racing experience and no prior laps at King of the Hammers, most would hesitate, but not Nick Riech, one of the top rock bouncer drivers in the country. Alongside co-driver Aaron Getty, inexperience wasn't a reason to wait. It was a reason to send it. This is the story of Team Fun Fun's first shot at King of the Hammers.
Today is Sunday, February 1st. Talk about this car. Where were we at with the mechanics? Where were we at with the setup?
The car's like 95% right now. I mean, they've had this thing down to bare frame and everything. The car has a massive turbo on it. It makes a ton of horsepower. What we want to do is we want to take away a lot of that horsepower and we want to make the car reliable. So what we're going to do is we have a meeting with Evolution Power Sports. The car's going over there. They're going to see what they can do to tune that power level down, bring up more bottom end in the car, and really make the car more drivable in the desert for the rocks and everything. As far as time in the car, the only time I have in a Can-Am in my entire life, side by side, was driving this up to Tech. I drove it up there and drove it back. That was it. So we're going to do a bunch of pre-running. That's the plan. As soon as it comes back,
We have a stock tank and this big turbo. We don't know the mileage.
Yeah.
So we have to get out there. We have to run a full tank through
fuel
it.
consumption's a big deal, especially with a car with this much power. When cars make this much power, belt temperature, you know, how hard I can push the car. It does have a belt temperature gauge, but all those things matter. Being that I'm used to larger cars, you know, rock bouncers, and then that's where I have my experience in. Rock bouncer is one extreme where you can push them extremely hard and they'll handle it.
I'll say I have zero experiences as a co-pilot at King of the Hammers. So I am going to be doing a training tonight. Lawrence training from 5 to 7, and then our driver's meeting at 7 o'clock. That's going to get us set for tomorrow's qualifying race.
bunch of the ORI group for suspension. They had all met up here, and we were going to go do some shock tuning. So we had pulled Fordzilla out, and our whole group here, the majority of us, were all headed over to do some shock tuning. And we were headed down a sand highway with some whoops, and a kid coming the other way with a dirt bike, he had lost control, cartwheeled, and his dirt bike flew around, landed on him, and knocked him completely unconscious. So we all got to jump out, help him, make sure he was okay, get him up and okay, and get the ambulance coming and stuff. And he ended up being all right, but he was knocked out. And then we didn't get to do our shock tuning, but we found some big whoops and some high-speed areas, and we were able to run Fordzilla wide open, whatever the top speed is, second gear, everything it had, through the whoops. So that was pretty fun and exciting.
Right as I came back to the pit, Nick also came back, and I was given a message this morning. Rerunning the qualifying course is not happening tonight, it's happening tomorrow. So I noticed Kyle Cheney pull up at the start line, and I go and ask him, and he says that he's never been able to qualify in the super early in the historical sense. They were kind of unsure, but they were going to be there and ready to line up. And so I ran over to the camp, which is a good, I don't know, quarter mile. I grabbed Nick, we run back, our helmets are, his helmet's being taken apart, so he wears my helmet, he gets suited up, he goes out, and luckily he is able to follow some people and get on the qualifying course.
It all took off and went out on course. I didn't really know where to go or how to even get to the course, so I stopped and a couple racers went by me and I was able to follow them all the way back. Kind of picked up that there's two lines, there's a red line and a purple line. Red line I assume is a hard line. Purple line is a bypass or easier line. This is all assumption. We don't know any of this, so we're going to find this out tonight after this interview is done. But follow these lines, follow the other racers. There's one in the qualifying course, there's one technical spot that really isn't that hard, but there's three routes through it. There's an easy, medium, and hard. I was able to make 3 or 4 different laps, so I was able to go through all 3 easy, medium, and hards. There's a downhill that there's a lot of speed to be able to make on it, and none of them are hard, but on the hardest hill I did carry some speed, popped the car up quite high into the air where the front end carried and the back tires were off the ground. We believe it overextended our limit straps, or we were longer than what we needed to be, and with overextending them it actually broke the cup out of the axle. So we broke an axle. I did not notice until I started coming down the hill. I could hear it rattling and making noise, and I knew something was wrong with the front. And that was it. So we got 4. My goal was 5. We got 4 laps on, which I'm happy with, and nothing serious. And we actually solved. It really helped our whole team because we're solving an issue before it affects us in a race or qualifying.
Next is we're going to go over the RCV booth with Fordzilla, and we have driver's meeting.
Yep.
It's qualifying day today, and
We all got up at 5 a.m. this morning, start prepping the car, got the car ready. I got out on the course. It was 5 after 6. I did 15 laps on the qualification course, so very happy with that, the way it is. Pushed the car pretty hard, got up to oh, I don't know, probably 70% race pace, maybe 75% race pace. Short course is where I put all my time in. Pretty confident and looking forward to it.
We shed quite a bit of weight from our pre-run, and we're not running the spare tire. We took off any weight we can. You think that helped any of the handling of the car?
Yeah. What do you think was the majority of the weight?
Well, there was the co-pilot. There's a 215 pounds shed right there. I won't be in the car with him. We want to, encourage the fastest pace we can. So I'm going to be watching the bleachers or on YouTube, just like you guys.
The way it stands right now, we're the fourth person off the line at 2 p.m.
Throw in the comments what time you think Nick's going to run.
Gunned it. It just didn't take off. Didn't spin the tires, did nothing. Kind of doing everything in the car, looking over to make sure that I didn't make a mistake of anything, letting off the gas, gassing it. I mean, making sure I'm in gear. I didn't have any switches off. I mean, nothing. And as soon as I went over the first jump, I was going like 30 miles an hour. As soon as my tires came off the jump, all of a sudden the car come to life and took off. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, we're back on. So we took off and get into the corner, dive into the corner, let off for a second, gas it again to pull out of the corner, nothing. Just going ball. We get just a little ways, maybe 50 yards, and I dropped into a hole, and when I dropped, my tires came off the ground, and as soon as they came off the ground, like started revving up and going faster again. So I was back in it. At that time, I'd already, that got in my head that there's something seriously wrong with the car. It wasn't wrong right before before when we were pre-running. Got up to 68 miles an hour. That's what our GPS watch said on that straightaway there. And come into that corner at the bottom of the mountain, turn right to go up the first hill, and that just kills all your momentum. You're tilted to the left, you're turning to the right, and you're turning up to go up a hill. So I did that, cut through there, and as soon as I cut through, the car bogged right down to almost nothing RPM, and when it did that, I pulled it back to low. We were still moving at like 5 miles an hour. The moment it went in, it spooled up, and I never let off from the bottom. Normally I would have let off, but I was too scared to let off that if I would have, it would have quit again. I rocketed up that hill extremely fast. Might even have got off the ground at the top of it. It really let off through the top of the mountain, then started coming down, hit it in the high, kept it going all the way down, and right at the bottom when you run into all that silt and those big holes, you know, I run into that and I had a gun and it just killed all the power, momentum, and it couldn't pull out of it again. I want to say almost 200 yards that I went like 15, 20 miles an hour with the car just wide open. So from that point, I got up to the rock wall, I put it in low range like I planned to do. I actually made the shift fairly good. The car came to life for a slight second and then just fell on its face. It started crawling and it was like the clutch was engaging and disengaging, engaging and disengaging. And it crawled halfway up the hill and then it must have spun the belt. I seen it on TV, so I know that it blew a bunch of smoke out. I thought I lost the belt. I thought it blew up. It didn't. I let off the brake and gassed it, and the car started pulling forward. So I tried again, and it slowly crawled up. I drove it like a rock bouncer down the hill, and just tried to get through the finish line. But just being stuck like that kind of throws everything off. The turbo's completely unable to spool because it can't. It's overworking itself the whole time. Every split second, you give it gas, just by turning your wheel, it would bog down the motor. You know, just didn't have anything. But now we know what it was. The secondary had broke on the start line, and it was literally stuck in high gear. All the rollers let go.
Well, considering all that we know now, the fact that you're able to finish the race in the time you did with no properly working clutch, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
So we qualified, we're ready to race. Let's go get pre-running, let's fix this clutch, and we'll get back out there.